Hey everybody, this is James Pelton. Hope you're having a good Friday. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. We've had about 8 inches of snow, so that's been kind of fun. It's fun. It's bittersweet. Okay, you enjoy it, but then also if you're trying to go anywhere, you have some problems. So do comment in the comments where you're from. That's one of my favorite things to see is just where is everybody watching from. Again, I love that I'm in small town. It's actually Roca, Nebraska. I just say Lincoln, Nebraska because no one knows where Roca is. But just awesome that I can connect with people all over the world in my little office, in my little town of 200 people here in Roca. So please comment where you're watching from. Hit the like button as we're going. I have Kevin here, and I've been me and Kevin. We've connected over several different things at several different times for several different reasons. But we're here today to talk to you about the employee retention credit. Okay, so I'm going to let Kevin kind of take away with introducing himself and talking a little bit about what this is. But the reason this piqued my attention is, first off, I don't think there's a lot of people that know about it, but it's a great opportunity both for business owners and also for you as someone who watches me, who wants side hustles, passive income, those types of things. I think there's a great opportunity as part of that as well. And we'll talk about all that here today. So hit like button, comment down below where you're watching from. And Kevin, thank you for hopping on here this morning. Do you want to start with just giving us a little blurb about who you are and your background?
Sure, absolutely. Before we start, James, I was just going to let you know your hair looks great this morning.
Oh, thank you, man. That's my biggest concern each and every day. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm Kevin Van Gritis, as James says. James and I have known each other for some time now, and I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, where it's about 75 degrees and sunny today, and I'm right on the coast. So, quite a different change than James has got.
Way to rub it in,
Yeah, we love it. But so I've got a long background in business. I worked for the world's largest medical device company for 25 years. I transitioned out of that type of medical technology into blockchain in about 2016, and I've been working on a number of projects as advisory board members, help running companies, COO of companies, that sort of thing. And that's how James and I came to know each other. I've watched him on the YouTube channels. I love his charisma. I love his excitement about projects. I love the fact that he's open and honest. And I'm very careful who I align myself with, for reputation, purposes and what I've been able to establish all these years. So that's the biggest reason I kind of hitch my horse with James and follow him very regularly, like you guys do as well.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, I appreciate it. I need to learn from that. I tend to just attach myself to everyone, and then sometimes I get in trouble for that. So I need to learn from people like Kevin. So
well, should feel special then, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep, absolutely. So let's go ahead and start out with kind of again, I like to start with elevator pitches, but can you kind of give us an elevator pitch of what is this? What is the employee retention credit? And then we'll talk about who this can help and how people can potentially make money from it.
Sure. So during the pandemic, the government started to do stimulus packages for businesses. They realized there was a lot of damage being done, especially to small businesses, which is the heart of the majority of businesses around the country. So they introduced this thing called the CARES Act of 2020. And this came out during the Trump administration. And when it first came out, there was really two paths a business could select to try and get some type of stimulus relief for their business. And the two options were, this one you've probably heard of, a PPP loan. And there was also something called an ERC, which stands for Employee Retention Credit. Now, all the attention got pushed to the PPP loans as people started learning about the CARES Act. It's like any other opportunity, whatever is the most relevant and poignant to those individuals, that's what's going to come up in a conversation. So PPP was the best avenue for these companies to get relief. There was a process where they had to apply for loans through a bank and then go through a process of applying for forgiveness. And they could do up to 2 of these during the pandemic. So what happened was, in the original CARES Act, there was a stipulation in it originally that said you had to pick between one or the other. You couldn't do both. And so for that reason, ERC just fell to the sidelines. No one really acted on it. Back then, it was only worth $5,000, up to $5,000 per employee. So the businesses that took advantage of the PPP, that was actually the right thing to do for them from a financial situation. Fast forward, here we are now in 2023. But what happened was when Biden administration came in, they realized that the pandemic itself was having long-lasting effects on these businesses. They wanted to kind of change the guidance in that CARES Act, and they did that through something called a Consolidated Appropriation Act in 2021. So really, that's when ERC started getting on the radar as a viable way for these businesses to get stimulus. And they then started layering in the ability for these businesses to claim $7,000 per quarter for the first 3 quarters of 2021. So that's where, when you hear this number, ERC could be worth up to $26,000 per employee. It's $21,000 for those first 3 quarters, plus the original $5,000 for the year 2021. So that's what we're here to talk about, and that's why these businesses are so excited about hearing about how they can obtain this money. And there's so many misconceptions around it that most CPAs, tax attorneys, accountants don't know all the guidance and changes that's taken place since. This act has grown into this massive volume of papers. It's 177 pages long. And because of that, most CPAs are never going to know, all those fine details. So that's where we come in with our company to help educate these businesses and help them apply.
Okay, very good. And what are the qualifications? Is this, I ran a business in 2020. Is this something that I sold it though, so I'm not the owner anymore. What are kind of the qualifications? Do you have to have been affected by COVID, or how does all that kind of work?
Yeah, that's a great question, James. And there's a number of stipulations. And again, it goes into the complexity, but the high level of it is you had to be in operation prior to February 15th of 2020. There is some stipulations that allow businesses that got started somewhere in that time period afterwards, but it's a different path for qualification, and it's not that full 26,000. So we'll just leave that aside for now. But yes, you had to be in operation by February 15, 2020. For us to file for you, you have to have 5 or more employees that are W-2. This is W-2 related only. And those 5 cannot include the owner of the business or any of their direct relatives. So that's some of the main requirements that you would have initially to qualify. Now, when you go back to the original ERC guidelines, you had to originally have a pretty high watermark in gross receipt declines. So for year 2020, when this first came out, you had to have a 50% or more decline in gross receipts. They've since updated that. So for year 2021, you could have as little as a 20% decline. And you always had to qualify off of these declines in revenue. The biggest change that recently came down, and this goes back to January of last year, is now you can qualify if your business had operational impacts that were related to to a government-related order. So from a local, federal, state level, if there were things that you had to do to change your business in order to remain in operation. Let's look at a restaurant, for instance. James would be a good one. They had to shut their doors. They then, most of them pivoted to curbside pickup, takeout. When they were able to, when they lifted some of the guidance on it, they were able to go to indoor dining, but very limited inside seating. They had to buy PPE for their employees. They had to buy special decontaminants to cleanse. They had supply chain constraints that limited their ability to get certain foods or supplies for their businesses. There's a lot of criteria now for operational impacts that allow these companies to now qualify. And again, most of them don't know, and their CPAs and accountants certainly don't know about this.
Okay, very cool. I'm kind of thinking now, because since I owned my business in 2020, maybe I should be one of our first clients to look through this. So
yeah, and here's what's interesting. We deal with a lot of big businesses too. Like for instance, we recently did Burger King, Popeyes, and these franchises. I have a friend that has a Jersey Mike's, for instance, and he sold it in November of 2021. Now he is able to take advantage of these credits because he was the one paying the tax to the government for those workers at the time, because this goes based off of payroll tax and healthcare expenses. So if you did own a business and you happen to have sold it even during that time period, if you were open in the time period that was affected, there's a very good chance you can apply for it.
Okay, well, this changes everything. Now this video is way different. We should hang up, and I should just get started with this. No, I'll look into that more. Soto's wanting to. He says, so the small businesses that mostly have family working all got screwed. Is that if you don't have 5 W-2 employees or you have family working for you, this is not applicable to you, correct?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, and that's going to be a very small subset, because we're talking about millions and millions of small businesses out there. I mean, I'll give you one instance. Yesterday, I've got a small blueberry, strawberry stand down the street from me, right? I happen to know the guy, and I'm working on building a new house. I was going to put some blueberry bushes in, so I happened to call him, and in my conversation, I asked him, "Hey, did you guys take advantage of these PPP loans?" Because the conversation is generally, were you affected? Did you take advantage of a PPP loan? And most are going to say yes. And so I asked him if they took advantage of ERC. He said, don't know about it. So when I explained it to him, I said, this is very interesting. Let's set up a meeting. I had the meeting yesterday. I go out and find out that they have this huge farm outside of town, thousands of acres. They have 42 core employees, but then they hire 300 seasonal workers. So even those part-time people count toward it because they paid federal taxes for those wages. So they have a tremendous windfall coming to them. When we look at the numbers, they could be sitting at getting between $1.7 and $2 million in a refund back from those wages that they paid.
Wow. That's incredible. So is it a difficult process to kind of go through this? I know one thing that kind of scares people off from anything that's government related is, oh, this process is going to take a year and there's going to be 50 million pieces of paper and we have to provide all these receipts and things like that. How would you kind of describe the process that people go through to get this?
Yeah. So what I generally do, James, is I personally try and pre-qualify the company. I make sure that they have the appropriate number of people, that they were affected by the pandemic in a fashion that is outlined within the government stipulations, which now, again, is very lenient on the operational side. Most businesses are going to qualify. And, as far as walking them through the process, it's as simple as, I do that pre-qualification. We set them up with a quick 10 or 15 minute call directly with the company, bottom line concepts. And at that point, they determine that, yes, they do indeed qualify. If they do, then they talk about next steps. They send them an agreement so they can review, how they would work with them in order to secure these funds. They send them a questionnaire so that they can make sure that they can document appropriately how they were affected. And then from there, that tells them what pathway that they're going to qualify on operational or on gross decline in receipts. So once they have that determined, they will provide them with the information that they need to supply. And it's generally a copy of their 941 statements. It's going to be their payroll journals. If they did a PPP loan, they're going to want to get the documentation from those loans so they can see the exact amount that was paid, because there's a formulary that'll back that out. And that's the general information they're going to need. Once they look at each business by business, they might layer in some additional documentation. Once they have it, they generally take that information, and because we have over 60 CPAs and certified tax attorneys on staff, in about 2 to 3 weeks, they'll know exactly to the penny what they can qualify for. And then they'll get back with the business and see if they want to proceed.
Okay, very good. Love it. Can you so there's a lot of different companies kind of doing this ERC thing. I've actually been approached by several,
Sure.
but since I knew you, that was kind of why I went this direction. Is there a difference between the different companies doing it? Is it just how they're set up, or do you want to just talk about that?
Yeah, there's a big differential. I feel very fortunate. The way I found out about this is I'm working on this Camp Lejeune water contamination case, and I just happen to be associated with the lead attorneys for that entire case. I needed funding for a project. This is how I found out about ERC. And when they told me that they had got almost $1 million grant, and let's use money from that kitty to pay for this project, I was intrigued enough to inquire. And so they were the ones that educated me on it. And it was very enlightening because once they told me about how they went about getting this money after filing for PPP, my first question is, what was the process? And they said, well, we used a company like Bottom Line, right? Because they said, we are very highly skilled and educated, but we deal with something that we know very well, which is veterans law. We don't do family law. We don't do corporate law. We don't do, any of the other fields within law. We are highly specialized. And because of that, we wanted to go to somebody we knew is the best, had a great track record, has been in the industry, and is going to be there if we need them if we ever get an audit, right? They're going to be there to support us. So they said, that's the high level criteria that we looked at. And when I look at the landscape, there are so many places that are popping up, whether it's just a simple accounting firm, if it's an attorney's office, there's even banks that are forming these big conglomerates to go out and market this. And the thing about Bottom Line that is so unique is they've been in business since 2009 doing just this, tax consulting for the Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 businesses, the biggest companies on the planet, McDonald's, Home Depot, Ernst & Young, a big accounting firm, BlackRock, Uber, CVS, I could go on and on, right? So you look at the breadth of who they've been dealing with for all these years, and then realize they spun up this division to help small business because they have experts in the field directly tied with the IRS. And those were the things that impressed me, is that they have a direct TDS into the IRS so that they can, it's basically an API, they can monitor everyone's transactions. This isn't afforded to most companies, especially not in this field. So they can monitor, they can know what's going on. And they're one of only 2 firms in the country that can help large businesses, because we're filing for massive corporations as well, returning tens and hundreds of millions of dollars to them. It's a whole different path, but it's the same program. And they're only one of 2 companies out there. So when I looked at it, I realized immediately that I was put on to the best company. I was introduced to the CEO, Josh Fox. He immediately asked me to come on board and start helping us spread the word because of the breadth of my contacts.
Okay, very good. Can you talk about, a lot of people see things like this and they're like, oh, no, that's, probably not legitimate, or it's probably not really, people aren't really getting that. Do you want to talk through some of the success stories that you've heard of companies? And I guess the more specific you can be, the better. I know there's some testimonials on the website that I can show, but just about real people who have gone through this, received the money, and just talk about their experiences.
Yeah, I don't have my spreadsheet pulled up, but just, I can go off the top of my head. We're helping businesses of all kinds, restaurants, nail salons, tire repair shops. I'm helping marinas. I've got a private island down here in North Carolina that we're getting ready to work with. I'm working with Little Caesars, who also owns the Detroit Red Wings. They own a bunch of amphitheaters. We're working with a lot of different type of clientele. And what I can tell you already is I've only been involved with this for about 2 months. I've already got 70 plus businesses that have signed on and are in various stages of their submitted documentation. Many of them are now starting going on to the IRS. I can see that it's a very real thing. These monies are being returned. Bottom Line to date has helped the most out of any business out there. They've done over 32,000 filings, which has returned over $4 billion to these businesses. It's an incredible amount. And when I look at some of the ones I'm doing, right, I'm doing a restaurant up the street. They're getting $328,000 back from the government. I'm doing that particular farm I was telling you about, $1.7 to $2 million. This marine repair center that I'm working on, they're going to stand to get what they told me. And I met with the CFO. He said, we're going to get back what's equivalent to 1 year in net revenue just from this tax, these tax returns that we're going to get. It's just crazy to think that, it's out there, it's available, and businesses don't know about it, aren't taking advantage of it, or are being misguided by their own tax professionals that they rely on.
Yep. Nope. Totally agree. Hopefully none of my CPAs are watching this right now, but a lot of times we assume the experts know. We assume, oh, they know what's going on. They know all the things. They're the experts. But time after time, I would bring things to my CPA or to I've gotten this a lot from companies. They say, "Oh, I know, I'm sure our HR department is handling this," and that don't assume that. Like people are not, just assume, just see how bad that we are at our own jobs. That's how bad your HR people are at their jobs too.
That's
And like,
right.
people just don't know. They don't know everything that's out there, and it doesn't hurt to check. Is something that I've been telling people is just check. Just
Yeah.
see if it's something, if there's opportunity there that you haven't seen.
Two things that come to mind, James, is because of my medical background. I dealt with neurosurgery, right? Spinal disorders, cranial issues. So if you had a brain tumor, if you had a fractured spine, if you had scoliosis, right, and you needed to see a specialist, first, you're not going to go to just anybody, right? You're not going to go to somebody that thinks they can help you, or might have a level of expertise or wants to try and do it. You want to go to somebody that's the best, right? That's who bottom line is. And the other thing is these people that think that they're getting guidance that says, we don't qualify because our revenues, we didn't lose enough money. They don't understand the operational side. What I encourage them, I said, look at this just like a medical decision. This is a huge financial decision for your business. Get a second opinion. And for the bottom line, it's free. We'll do all the work for them up front. And until we actually submit it, they don't owe us a penny. And quite frankly, they wouldn't even owe us a penny until they actually get the money from the IRS. And only then will they pay that small agreed upon fee. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and let's clarify that this will end up being completely free for any businesses, because anything that they pay bottom line comes out of basically what they're getting back. Is that the right way of looking at it?
Yeah, I would look at it that way. They'll base it off based on a percentage, and there's a number of things that go into the formula. And only bottom line, when you have your initial consultation with them, they'll give you an idea of what that cost will be. It's within industry standard, and so basically what they're going to look at is how many W-2 employees do you have. They're going to look at the complexity of this, right? How many rounds of PPP did you apply for? When they ask you your pre-qualifying questions like operational or gross income, that's going to help them determine how many of those quarters they can actually apply for. Because I can already tell you, I have personal friends that they let their CPA file for it, and I asked them some very easy questions. I got the answer, and I knew automatically that they either didn't get enough money or got way too much money. And in each scenario, it's not great, right? If they left money on the table, they cut themselves short. But if they overstated what they actually qualify for, now they're in the position where they might owe money back to the government at some point in the future. So that's why it's really important to have somebody like Bottom Line. They're going to take the information, they're going to scrub it multiple times, let you know how much you're due back, and then look at it once more before they end up sending it off to the IRS. They're very thorough.
Okay. So is there any downside to people just scheduling a call just to make sure that it's okay? Like other than the 10, 15 minutes it takes to go do the call, there's no cost. Is there any reason to not do it that you can think of?
I can think of zero reasons. It's a nice round number, zero, right? Because if 15 minutes of their time, they're running a small business, and the way I look at it is, if I'm a business owner, I'm probably running that business because it's something I'm very passionate about. It's my livelihood, right? And I think of it just in easy terms. How much do I stand to make, my net revenue from a 15-minute conversation? I know I'm busy day to day getting things done, but if someone else is going to do everything for me and all I have to do is provide them documents, have an initial conversation to see if I qualify, the worst thing they can say is, you don't qualify. But I can tell you the overwhelming majority of businesses do. So it's worth that 15-minute conversation, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, totally agree. How long would you say that it takes from scheduling a call to when people actually receive their money? And I'm sure it varies based on some things, but what have you kind of been seeing?
Yeah, so it varies on a number of things. So like the time of the year that they do the filing and so forth. But right now, we're in the height of tax season, and what we're still seeing is once they've submitted the documents that are required, we do that 2 to 3 week scrub of the information, get them the information, and they get to a decision to move forward, and it's submitted. It's generally taken 2 to 4 months for a business that has, a couple, anywhere from those 5 up to a couple hundred. As you start to get higher in the numbers of employees, it's scrutinized a little bit on on the IRS's side, so it might extend it. So just think on average about 2 to 4 months. In that time frame, they'll start getting a check for every single quarter that they apply for, and they might get them in spurts. They won't get them all at once. They might, 72 days out, they might get a check, and then 81 days, they might get a second check, and then a third check and a fourth check until they get them all. And I can tell you, talking to business owners that have already applied, they're just astonished when they get these checks back, and they're going, "Wow, it just seems crazy that we're getting this money back," and they're so happy.
We're so used to paying money to the government. It's
Right.
weird to have it the other way around.
What's interesting too, James, is when it comes to that money that's paid back, unlike the PPP loans, there are no stipulations on what they can do for it. These business owners can go and pay down debt. They can expand their business. They can hire new employees. They can pay bonuses. And I tell my people, you can put a bronze statue of yourself right out in front of your business if you want. You do anything. There's no stipulation on what they can do, but most are very astute, and they want to plow it back into the business.
That's incredible. One other question I had, I remember we had talked about this being applicable to churches as well. Or did you want to just talk through that? Is this available for nonprofits or churches or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's another good point, James, in that, when you look at the type of businesses that can apply for this, it's far and wide. And the guidance, like we mentioned, is constantly changing. Some of the recent changes that they made is, just like you mentioned, churches can apply for these. Nonprofits, as long as they have W-2 employees or withholding taxes for those and paying healthcare, they qualify. An interesting tidbit, of those 32,000 filings that we've done to date, about 20% of those are churches. So those are great avenues to work with your local church. You're doing good things to start with for these businesses, but you're putting your church in such a wonderful position. But I mean, some of the other ones that come to mind are auto repair shops, bars, gyms, hotels, restaurants, senior living centers. Staffing agencies are fantastic. Staffing agencies could have hundreds or even thousands of people on their payroll, and a lot of those people are part-time, so they don't count toward that 500 cap. So you might have a staffing agency with 40 or 50 people working at the staffing agency, or maybe just a couple, but have hundreds or thousands of these part-times. One staffing agency I can think of recently, they got like 4.6 million back. Another one just got a little over 20 million back, just because of the breadth of their part-time workers. They recently added universities. They added hospital systems to the list, and ambulatory surgery centers. So there's constantly changes in the guidance. There's probably more that'll come. And that's why I say the opportunity is far and wide. And you can even, if you've got connections at a major corporation that has thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of employees, you can work with them as well. It's a large ERC program. It's a totally different program, but again, to them, it's tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're doing those all the time.
Okay, awesome. So I want to talk to you about the referral program here in just a minute. But for people who are watching, who are business owners, what do they need to do to get started? Is it just go to the website and schedule a call? Is that the steps here?
Yeah. So if you go to the website that James is showing, there's a lot of good information about the Employee Retention Credit Program. If you'll notice, there's radio buttons on it that say "Get Qualified," find out more, schedule a call. And then it'll take you to the bottom, and at that point, you'll click on the drop down, and it's going to ask you if you've got less than 5 employees, 5 to 99, or 99 or more. You just make your selection. If you select less than 5, it's going to tell you don't qualify, basically. But anything else, it's going to take you to a Calendly link. You're going to be able to book an appointment. Now, we have people on staff at our home office, which is in Miami. And you can book up to 7 days out. And generally, you can get an appointment between 7:30 in the morning Eastern time and 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. So, but I've noticed that the bookings have really picked up. So if you click on any of those, James, just click on any of them. You'll kind of get a sense, but generally in 15-minute increments. Once you select that and confirm it, you can put in your contact information, your name, your email address, the name of your company. Your phone number is really important because that's where they're going to call you. the full name of the legal name of your company, and then how many W-2 employees you had roughly in 2021. And if there's anything else you want them to know, you would just put that in the notes section, schedule the event. You'll get a link to your email. And then at that predetermined time, that representative will call you from Bottom Line and walk you through the process to verify if you do qualify, and then talk about next steps.
Okay, very good. So I recommend anyone, if you have a business, I would recommend that you just schedule a call, because you might not know. You might think, oh, I probably don't qualify. I probably, business didn't really suffer that much. And you'd just be surprised. Just from what I've heard, there's a lot of people who think they don't qualify who actually do. So it doesn't hurt to just schedule a call. Again, part of what that call is going to do is kind of pre-screen you before you put in hours and hours and hours. So that's what I would recommend for you.
James, what I'd like to tell people too, what's interesting is we talk about this $26,000 number, and that's really the high level of what you could qualify for. Because we've done 32,000 plus and counting, we have aggregated those numbers, and we know a real solid number of what people should expect. So would you like me to tell them kind of a guidance on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So what we mentioned is, if you apply for PPP loans, you now have the ability to take advantage of these as well. But there's a formula where we're going to back that out of the equation. So a good rule of thumb to use is, if you did not do any PPP, we're not seeing people get that 26,000. There's a lot of variables. Each state has a different start and end date to the pandemic from government orders, and there's all these other variables. But we're seeing companies in that range get 17 to 19,000 per employee, significant amount. If they've done one round of PPP, we're still seeing them get in that $12,000 to $15,000 range. Each scenario is different, so it could be more or less, but generally 12 to 15. But if you've done both rounds of PPP, you're still probably going to look at $8,000 to $10,000 on average.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, incredible. So schedule a call. That's call to action for this one, is schedule a call. It's free. Hit like and schedule a call if you have a business. I saw some people in the comments, with truck drivers. I mean, there's just a lot of things. So just schedule a call. And yeah, churches is the one that really surprised me. You would think, oh no, churches, surely they can't partake in this. So that really surprised me, and that's been a lot of where my thought has been going.
I met with a church the other day, James, and it happens to be two pastors at this church. One of them oversees the church. The other one oversees a district of 85 churches. So what they wanted me to do for them is get them started with the process, because again, they were told they didn't qualify, but now they see they do. And as soon as they do their submission, they want to open up that conversation to all 85 of those churches, because they want to be able to help all of them. You don't know where one opportunity is going to lead, and I've had this happen multiple times. The other thing that was interesting too, this just came about a week ago, Friday, is I'm sure you guys all know who Mr. Wonderful is, Kevin O'Leary. So Kevin O'Leary, as you know, very astute business person, highly regarded in the business world, very shrewd investor. He has great counsel around him from accounting, from tax advisors and so forth. He saw the importance of doing this. He's aligned himself with Bottom Line. He's bringing every one of his companies that do qualify to do the filing through Bottom Line Concepts. And he's starting to spread the word, because he realizes, the financial importance to each business owner, and he wants to make sure everybody out there that does qualify has the opportunity to take advantage of and get that money back for their business, because he plans on plowing it back right into his businesses.
Okay, very cool. Let's talk about, so I think this is super helpful. Yeah, if you own a business, go schedule that. Let's talk about the opportunity for people. And we're going to do a whole separate video on this as well, because I want to do one video just explaining what ERC was. But then there's a whole other way for non-business owners to kind of take advantage of this. Do you want to kind of talk through the referral program and how all that works?
Sure. Yeah. So James, it was interesting when I was sitting down with those attorneys. I'm a very busy person, right? And I've got a number of projects I'm working on. But when I heard what this program was and what it could mean to business owners, I looked at my network. I looked at all these people I'm connected with in business and said, I can help them if they don't know about this. So the first thing I did is reached out to my CPA, and my CPA said, look, we had a bunch of our businesses want us to help. We went down the path. We tried it for one of our businesses. It was very convoluted. We're not sure if we did it right. We're not doing it again. We're going to give you guys the business because we want to make sure it's done right, right? We want to protect our business owners. So when I looked at it, I said, there's an opportunity here to help. That's when I started, working with Josh, the owner of the company, the founder of the company. And he says, look, we don't spend money on advertising. You're going to see other firms out there advertising on TV, text messaging, all over the place. You're going to be bombarded in the months ahead. You won't see us doing that. We take our money that we pay for advertising and we put it in our people. And they built a very interesting business model that's very rewarding. And that's why I look at this as a win-win-win. The business owner is going to win because they're going to get the best guidance and the most money back legitimately through the IRS and have a credible company behind them. Bottom line, will end up making a fee based on what they did to do all that work, which is hard work. And for all of that, what they're doing to spread the message, they want people like you and me and everyone else that's listening that has an interest in generating an income to go out and spread the word exactly like we're doing. Tell every business owner I'm on the phone all day long. I'm meeting face-to-face with business owners to tell them about this. I'm taking as much time out of my day to do it. So for those people that are interested in generating the passive income, and it could be quite substantial. I mean, if I give you an idea of what some people are able to make in this, what I've already generated, I'm happy to do that. It's substantial, what we're doing, and it's all out of the goodness of our heart. And what I like about it is you don't feel like you're selling people anything.
Right.
You're in a position where you're truly helping them, put them in a better position, and in return, you're being rewarded as well for your good efforts.
Yeah. Instead of a salesperson, you're kind of Santa Claus. It's a.
Yeah, and what's funny is like if I go in and talk to a restaurant or a coffee shop or something, I usually or a brewery, I leave with I left the other day with a 4-pack of beers. I left the restaurant with to-go dinners. I went the other day to a coffee shop. They were caffeinating me. It's very rewarding to know you're helping these people, and they're so grateful that you walked in the door and told them about it.
That's awesome. So if you're a person, if you go to a church, there's businesses that you have connections with, if you want to just go be a door-to-door person, I know, Kevin, that's you've done some of that. If you want to, if you're a CPA, I was thinking CPAs who have all these businesses that they're working with. I mean, sign up to be an affiliate with Bottom Line Savings, and you can get a percentage. It helps the businesses, and you can get a percentage of the people that you get to take advantage of this. So I think there's an awesome opportunity. We're going to do a whole video dedicated to that. But yeah, do you want to talk through some of the numbers that you're seeing from people who are doing things like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I can just speak for myself, right? I got started in November. I was coming right into Thanksgiving. You got a 2-week window at the beginning of December before everyone checks out for Christmas. So I had very limited time to really introduce it. And since that time, as far as the numbers now, again, these are numbers of things that are going to the IRS already already been filed or in the stage where the documents are been gathered and they're under review. I've been able to generate just under $200,000 in revenues that will be due to me in, let's call it 60 days, probably.
Wow.
And that's just crazy. I came from the medical device field where we made a very lucrative income, and we spent our days in the OR, long days, having to deal with a lot of different personalities, as you can imagine, and it was a lifestyle. This, I'm actually having fun. I can do it when I want to. I can be out having dinner somewhere and ask to speak to the owner and make their day in return. And I'm out casually with my friends or my family and making money and helping them get an extraordinary return to their business. It's a really good feeling.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I can tell you, like, as far as others that have been doing this, there's people that are using, outreach programs. Some of these people are generating incomes of hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and they've only been working on it, less than a year. Some of them have been doing it, 4 to 6 months. So if you're one of those people where you've got, the ability to do this through outreach with, any variety of methods, whether it's calling on call lists or reaching out through LinkedIn or through social media, I would encourage you to look at it. We're glad to help you as a team, James and I. If you want to get started with something like that, James, I don't know if you want to share my email address or bottom line savings.
Yes.
I can actually help you become a referral partner and get you signed up to do that. And we can discuss all the details. I'm glad to work with you to make you successful at what you need to do and say and to know to educate these business owners properly.
Okay. Very cool. No, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that it could be an awesome opportunity if you're willing to put in a little bit of work. And actually, not even that much. Like at the very least, you can just contact people you already are in contact with. Like I was thinking, well, I know some business owners, and I don't know if they've looked into this, but it doesn't hurt to just send them some info. Say, hey, have you looked into this? There's opportunity here. So, great opportunity for a lot of people.
Yeah, I've got a whole swath of people. I've got people that are in college that are doing this, and I've got people all the way to that are retired that are looking for a way to generate income, that are leveraging all their connections from their years of work in certain industries, and they're loving it. They're having a great time. It's exciting for them. So
Yeah, absolutely. How much money is left in this ERC fund, and how long is it going through? When does this program close?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there really is not a cap right now that we know of from the government. Could it end, at any point? Absolutely, right? But what I found out, even dealing with those attorneys that are working on the Camp Lejeune water contamination case, they said, look, working with the government, it's slow. It takes a long time. Like for them, they've been working on that case 10, 11 years. But what they know is the government always pays, right? So that's why they're so excited about helping all those people with that. So this program, right now, there's 2 end dates that are on the table. The first one is for year 2020. That at April 15th, 2024, you'll no longer be able to file for the year 2020. But keep in mind, that's only up to $5,000 per employee. So the bulk of the money that's going to be returned to these businesses comes out of year 2021, those 3 quarters where there's $7,000 for each quarter, the 21,000. That expires on April 15th, 2025. And one last tidbit, we're hearing from the IRS there might be the 4th quarter of 2021 layered in, which could be up to another 7,000. So we have a long runway in front of us. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. So it's not like if we get started on it now, you've got to get this thing going and it's over in a blink of an eye. But I would encourage people that if they are interested, working on this from a referral basis, that you do get started right away. I can tell you in my conversations that more people are becoming aware of it. And what I'm finding is because of the level of credibility we have from Bottom Line, and because of the knowledge that we have, the conversations other people are having, they're informing people and making them aware, but they're not, pulling the trigger to work with them. And I think, between that combination of knowledge that we have and the expertise, it makes people feel very comfortable. Of course, all the companies, from testimonials that we have as well. It's just incredible.
Absolutely. Mountain Brother Production says, if I know a business that has 50 employees and I refer them, do I get a referral commission? And the answer is yes. You'll need to get in touch with Kevin and we can kind of get you set up. What does that referral look like? Like if you get a company, we'll say you get a company $200,000. What does that referral look like?
Yeah, I'll just do one scenario. How about this? Let's look at a business that has 100 employees, just to make the math easy for everybody. So we'll say a company has 100 employees, right? And they qualify, right? So the next step would be they would file. Bottom Line will negotiate with them up front what their fee will be for all the filing. In this case, it's probably going to be about 15%. So Bottom Line, after this company gets their money paid to them, the company would get paid, let's say if they did 2 rounds of PPP, we'll take the lowest number. We're going to go 2 rounds of PPP. Let's say they only get 10,000, not the 12, 15, 19,000. That means this company would get returned $1 million, right, to that business. Their fee to Bottom Line would be 15% or 150,000, leaving the company with $850,000. Out of that $150,000 that Bottom Line collects, you get paid 10%, meaning you just earn $15,000 for probably a 15 to 30 minutes worth of work, or less, and helping somebody out. And you can do this all day long. Now, what happens if they didn't do any PPP loans? Now they're getting 17 to 19,000. So the math changes. So it almost doubles. So instead of 15,000, you're going to be somewhere in $27,000-$28,000 commission range. It's substantial. It's life changing for everybody involved, and that's why I say it's real win-win-win situation, and you rarely have those. It's usually like the Super Bowl. You have a winner, and you have a loser. It's not like that.
Well, and I love, I see the government giving out so much money, but it's always to other people. And so it's kind of nice to be on the receiving end of the government. I see all these handouts, they're giving money here. And it's like, hey, I can be one of them they're giving money to. So I like that feeling.
And too, I think one thing I've learned too is help people understand this isn't free money, right? This is money that is due back to them. It's just like if you had overpaid your taxes, or they changed the tax guidance on you personally and said, you know what, we changed the tax code from last year, and James, if you know about this and want to apply, you can get some money back. But you got to take the initiative, and you have to know about how to go about getting it, and you have to file for it. It's the same thing. These people have already paid this money, right? It was what they were legitimately supposed to pay. And now the government's just saying, hey, in order to help you guys because of the lingering effects of the pandemic, we want to keep putting you in a better position. So why not, right? And because the future, no one knows. No one knows what's going to happen to that business 6 months from now. And if they wait 6 months to start the process, what if we have a downturn in the economy again? Then you have to start the process, and you're going to be sitting on your hands for another 4 to 6 months to get your money, 2 to 4 months, whatever the time frame is. Why not do it now?
Yep, absolutely. What hesitations do businesses usually have before signing up for this?
Just those usual ones I mentioned. Usually when I talk to a business, the first thing I ask them is, were you affected? Obviously you were affected by the pandemic, and did you take advantage of a PPP loan? And most of them are going to say yes, right? So automatically I'll ask usually, how many rounds of PPP did you take advantage of? 1 or 2? And then I can already start to formulate in my head a dollar amount, because the next thing I want to find out from them is if they know about ERC. And they're going to either say, yes, they do, and we took advantage of it. Yes, we did. We haven't done anything yet. No, we don't know about it. Or yes, we know about it, but we were told we don't qualify. And if they tell you anything other than yes, if they tell you, yes, we qualified and we've already submitted it, then you just say, great. But if they say we haven't done it, we don't know about it, or we're told we don't qualify, those are the people you want to take a few minutes to educate them on. And then that's where I start my conversation, to make sure they understand that there was a change in guidance, that CARES Act had so many changes along the way, and that they now do qualify. Can we help, set up a conversation with one of our experts to make sure that they pre-qualify? But that's the hesitation I usually get is, oh, we know about it, but we don't qualify. That's the biggest one.
Yep. Or what I've been running into is, oh, someone else is probably already handling that, is what I've been hearing businesses say. And it's like, well, you better make sure. It's quite a bit of money sitting there. So you might want to double check on that and just make sure.
And I've run into that a lot, even with small business. I like to say, I might go into a nail salon. They go, oh, I'm sure my accountant knows about that. And I'll go, now I can say, well, do you know who Mr. Wonderful is? Kevin O'Leary. I'm sure, you would think he's got some of the best tax advisors on his staff, right? On speed dial. But even he used a company like Bottom Line. These attorneys I'm dealing with, you think they got great guidance. They're one of the top legal firms in the country. But no, they went to one of these companies because they realized it's the importance of getting very sound financial advice, because this is very important stuff to get right. And with 177 pages to go through, it's difficult. I mean, it's easy to miss something that's really important.
Yeah. And now you don't only have Mr. Wonderful, you have James Pelton. So it's like,
that's right.
I mean, you're just blowing up now, it's crazy.
Well, what's interesting, we have a lot of people that are stepping in to help. And, we have probably over 400 former NFL players that are doing this now. And these guys make great money, but they have very short careers. but they have huge connections. They have huge networks of people. And that's the other number that we know of is of the businesses that qualify here in the US, probably a little over 20% have applied. So we have this long runway with a very deep pool of potential businesses that we can help. And that's what excites me, right? That's what gets me going every day. I can get a no 6 times in a row and then get 4 yeses, and I have those days where, I talk to on average, 10 to 15 businesses a day is my goal. And, out of those, it might be a day where I get, nobody that's interested, or, some lukewarm responses, send me the information. But there's days when I'll have 4, 6, 8 companies that are interested in moving forward. And those are the ones that I focus on and help.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, I love this. I think we'll do another video. I'm going to schedule Kevin again, and we'll talk about it not from the business side, but more on the referral side, because for at least a while, I mean, you could potentially, because I've been hearing not only from Bottom Line, but other companies too. I talked to a guy who he had made $200,000 off of all he had done was just told people about this opportunity and then just pulling in the commission. So like that could be, if you were willing to put in some work, that could be a potentially really lucrative side hustle, at least for the foreseeable future. So I want to do a separate video where we focus just on that, ideas for getting going on that, the process that you use, tips that you use, things like that. So we'll get that scheduled. So in closing, I guess 3 calls to action. Again, marketing guy, always want to do the calls to action. First off, hit the like button. No reason to not do that. Second off, if you're a business, then go to the website. Again, I'll post the link once again, just so you make sure you guys have that. Go there. You can schedule a call. You can read more about it. There's a little video kind of explaining it too. Then you can schedule a call, and it's a pretty short call. It's not supposed to be, again, it's a 15-minute slot, so it's probably even going to be shorter than that. So it's just a quick, hey, is this going to work for you? What's your situation? So no harm in doing that. And then if you want to become a referrer, if you think, hey, I definitely could be a salesperson for something where you give them money instead of them giving you money, then again, I'll give you Kevin's email address. Shoot him an email. And we'll get you set up, and you can start. You'll get a website similar to the one that I have here. Where did it go? Yeah, so you'll get a website similar to this one, and then you can start kind of pointing people to it yourself. So those are the calls to action. Anything else you feel like we should add before we kind of wrap up here?
No, I just think, it's one of those opportunities where I think time is of the essence for everybody from a business standpoint, because you want to make sure that you can get those funds. You don't know what the future is going to hold for the economy and what it means for your business. And maybe you already have plans to do certain things with your business that are on hold. So these things could be really life-changing for that business. Could be a lifeline that you're looking for, or just put you in a much better position for expansion. And then for those that want to get started with it, I know that I can just tell from the beginning of the year that things are really starting to ramp up as far as the awareness of this. So the sooner you get out there and start talking to the business owners, just know that you've got this massive company with just impeccable credentials behind them that you're working for. And they're some of the most honest people that I think you'll find. I mean, I did a lot of due diligence, obviously, on my end, and I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. I would recommend working with Bottom Line. James, if you want to share my email, I'll help business owners and those referral partners alike. If those business owners have some detailed questions and they want to speak to me first, I'm happy to speak with them as well.
Okay, very good. Yep, shared that email. It's in the description as well. If you missed any of this, the replay will be available right when we're done, and I'll put in chapters so you can skip around and see relevant information. So I want to thank first the audience. Thank you guys for watching. Again, stay tuned for more info on this. I think it's I'm going to be personally, I don't have a lot of extra time, but personally, I'm going to devote some time to reaching out to churches and businesses about this opportunity. So that if I devote some time to it, that must be in some way worth it, because I'm pretty much against anything that takes any of my time. And this is one thing, though, that I think is worth it. So thank you, audience, for watching. And Kevin, thank you for keep nudging me on this, and thanks for putting this
Absolutely.
together. Anyone who's ever worked with me knows that I have to be I need my hand held and kind of need to be driven along, and you've done a great job of doing that, so I appreciate that. So thanks for bringing this to us.
Yeah, thanks for the time, James. I appreciate everyone listening to what we're trying to do to help people, and we look forward to working with everybody in each capacity.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed this. Hope you have a great rest of your Friday, and we will talk to you later. Thanks.